Hey, what's up everyone, Morey Croson here, and today I'm going to be going over the 6 most common coaching mistakes when it comes to sprinting, and we'll start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab.
Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become.
All right, so we're going to go over really the 6 things that really cause a lot of problems when it comes to sprinting, and I think a lot of times this comes from a good place, but the overall information just might not be correct or 100% understood. And so what I want you to be able to do, either as a coach or as an athlete, be able to understand what are some of the biomechanical facts behind sprinting, and what are some of the things that are not necessarily too truthful when it comes to actual top speed performance or just sprinting performance in general. So we're going to hop right into it. The first one's going to be knee drive, right? So we see a lot of people that talk about the knee drive, and let's just go actually over to Christian Coleman here, and we can see for him, he's one of the best sprinters in the world. He's not getting that knee up to his hip, right? So being able to get your knee all the way up to the hip is not something that's going to directly impact your ability to run fast, right? And if you are not getting that knee up to the hip, that doesn't mean that you are, lacking any type of range of motion or anything like that. When it comes to the ability to maximize that knee drive or pick up as much distance per step, a lot of that actually has to do with your foot contact and how much force you're generating into the ground. That makes it so then you were able to cover a lot more distance. So it's not with that swing leg that needs to change if there's an athlete that is not able to pick up very much distance per step. It has actually a lot more to do with how that athlete is hitting the ground and pushing off of the ground and being able to essentially utilize the ground when sprinting that is making a bigger impact. So that's the first one. Second one is going to be coaching a change within the lower body without addressing the upper body, or vice versa, coaching something in the upper body without changing the lower body. So, what happens is you'll see maybe some type of issue with the elbow coming out to the side, for instance, even though it's not necessarily an issue here, but let's say that ends up being a problem. So, when you coach to just keep that left elbow in without talking about how that ends up impacting the extension that is generated within the leg, then that ends up doing a disservice for the athlete, because now they don't understand the proper rhythm and timing that will end up impacting that arm going straight back, right? So every time, either you're, again, an athlete or a coach here, you want to talk about something that they can be doing to improve their running in either the upper body or the lower body. You want to think about that, how that's going to impact the opposite. So if it's the arm, think how it impacts the legs, and vice versa. Okay, so just make sure that there is continual thought process behind the rhythm and the timing of the sprint in order to make it so you can run faster. The next one's going to be the concept of dorsiflexion, right? There's a lot of people that talk about how you want to be able to really maintain dorsiflexion when you're sprinting, and we can see here with Lamont Jacobs is right before foot contact. You actually want to get what dorsiflexion is when that foot is up above the heel, right, coming up towards the shin, right? So you can see I'm in dorsiflexion here, but then as you come in and actually hit the ground, your foot or toe goes below the heel, which is essentially plantar flexion, right? So you can see that for him as well. You can see that with Marvin Bracey when he's hitting the ground, right? So you want to get to a point where you're actually hitting the ground with that toe below the heel, right? So it's not about maintaining dorsiflexion, right, keeping that toe up. It's actually the moment before your foot hits the ground, you want to be initiating the strike into the ground, is what I say, or the concept that ends up, I think, connecting, right, instead of reacting to the ground, right? Initiate contact in the ground instead of reacting to the ground. Okay, that I think makes a lot of sense when it comes to being able to maximize your overall sprinting performance. Okay, the next one's going to be arms stay at 90 degrees, right? And so, basically no sprinter stays at 90 degrees the entire time they're sprinting. We could look at Marcel Jacobs here, right? His arms are not at 90 degrees right there. We could look at Marvin Bracey, arms are not at 90 degrees right there. We could look at Christian Coleman, arms are not at 90 degrees. Well, now he's going to be leaning here. But with that, at that swing phase, basically no one's arms are at 90 degrees, right? So as that arm's coming through, right, that hand is below the hip, okay? So there can't be at 90 degrees, right? You can see me here. Arms aren't at 90 degrees, Okay, so anytime that hand is crossing that hip, a lot of times the arm is not at 90 degrees. Okay, so that is something that I think is over taught, right? Is being able to maintain a 90-degree position. That was number 4. Number 5 is coaching symmetry, right? So let's go back to, we have a perfect straight-on view with Lamont Jacobs. Coaching symmetry, right? They're not supposed to be symmetry. It's supposed to be asymmetrical. He's asymmetrically bringing his right arm back, right? His right arm doesn't match the angle of the left arm when he's going back, right? See how that left hand goes out like that, right? There's asymmetry in how he's moving right there. That right arm goes more straight back, left arm goes more out to the side. That right foot lands more out to the side than the left foot, right? There's not going to be a perfect amount of symmetry. Your knees are going to be a little bit more, turned out one side to the other. You're not going to be able to come through perfectly. And the whole concept is like when you are creating any type of force, the force comes through the transverse plane, the rotational plane. And so in order for there to be more force production, you have to be able to utilize the transverse plane, which means there has to be rotation. When there comes a rotation involved, it's going to be asymmetric, right? There's just not going to be a way to be able to, really run fast without using the transverse plane, and therefore you're not going to be able to run fast without getting, some degree of asymmetry within the body. Now, you don't want to coach large degrees of asymmetry, right? You want to be able to, minimize any overly inefficient movement, but just because somebody is not perfectly straight does not mean that is something that needs to, change, okay? You want to be able to have a good understanding of what ends up being the, when are you overcoaching symmetry and not focusing enough on being able to, there's so many things to be able to improve, right? Don't overly get consumed with the symmetrical, the symmetry of the movement. You want to get more consumed of maximizing the time spent on the ground, how much distance per step, how to maximize the efficiency within the arms and within the legs, and create more time and create more rhythm, right? If you're getting too caught up with the symmetry, you're probably not getting caught up enough with being able to create an overall better rhythm and timing within the sprint. And then the last one will actually go back to the beginning of the video here, because it's going to be dealing with the start, right? We're going to go and kind of zoom out a little bit. And these are some of the best starters in the world. None of them stay low, right? The last one is staying low during your sprint. You do not need to stay low during the sprint. Now, you do need to keep your chin tucked, but it's not about staying low here. Okay, look at how high Marcel Jacobs is. Look at how high Christian Coleman is, right? Those guys, their spines are all the way up. Their chests are all the way up. It's not about staying low that's going to make it so you run faster or have a great start. What's going to be able to make it so you have a great start is spending less time on the ground, right? Is being able to maximize that horizontal angle at your push-off within that down leg, right? Look at those horizontal angles for all of those guys, right? Being able to get great horizontal angles. Look at the horizontal angles of the shins, right? That's how you maximize the start, is having great shin angles, right? Is having great foot stabilization, okay? Is being able to get those hips coming forward and through, right? None of these guys have their hips sitting way back behind. What happens when you go and you are focused on staying low at the start is you end up with your hips way far back behind, right? That's what ends up making it so then a lot of times you overextend, right? You don't have great knee angles when you're hitting the ground, right? So then that makes it so now your foot's not landing underneath the hip. You have your foot landing more underneath the knee, right? These are the issues with sprinting, right? And then a lot of times people will blame that on their not staying low enough, right? You got to stay low longer. It's not about staying low longer. It's being able to really maximize the foot time on the ground, being able to maximize those knee angles, like I just said, right? So don't overcoach staying low. Overcoach the time spent on the ground. Overcoach the angles within the knee. Overcoach the ability to sync up the timing within the push-off or within the syncing up the hands and the wrist actions with the foot and the toe actions, right? Like those are the things you want to continue to focus on, because those are the things that you can consistently improve, consistently get better. It's the same thing with quarterbacks. You could always get better with the wrist flick and being able to sync everything up with that wrist flick. It's not something that you just get one time and it's like, okay, now I got it, now I'm good. You've got to be drilling those starts, you've got to be drilling that timing, and a lot of it starts at the beginning. If you can get that timing really synced up at the beginning very well, then it really helps you in being able to get to that top speed and really being able to maximize that top speed. So, all those things end up being important. Those end up being the 6 most common mistakes, at least in my opinion, that I see, coaches, and the number one, the knee drive. I mean, I see coaches talk about knee drive all the time, right? It's not about knee drive. It's about how you're hitting the ground and how much force you're generating into the ground. So I hope this ends up being a beneficial video for you. If it is, go ahead and click that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below. We're going to continue to give you guys great content. I'm super excited for some of the stuff we're going to be doing for you guys in terms of, sprinting. There's such a plethora of information that we can continue to offer you guys to be able to improve your speed. Only thing I wish is that I was working with more, clients individually to help them in improving their biomechanics, right? I'm able to, really put a lot of information about in terms of how to improve your sprinting. And I want to be able to help more with your biomechanics, been able to really acquire some great clients. I'm not, at all complaining about where I'm at, but I just, want to be able to do more, want to be able to help more. I see, people are always sending in videos for me to be able to, try to break it down. And I just see so many people out there that are not making, good decisions when it comes to their sprinting mechanics and really turning over or creating the right efficiencies within their movement patterns, and it's costing precious seconds, precious tenths of seconds, precious hundredths of seconds. And so the more understanding and clarity you have within the sprinting, and I would say too, if you're still watching this, write out your sprint, write out how your foot should be hitting the ground, write out how each part of your body should be moving during the start, during the drive, during the top end speed, and send it over to me. I'll take a look at it, because the more understanding you have of what you should be doing when you're sprinting, then you can start to better understand what are your blind spots and how you can improve. And it'll also give you a better recollection of how well do you actually understand what you're doing. Are you just relying 100% on talent, which would be somebody that really can't explain very much about the sprinting, or are you somebody that has a good deal of knowledge and needs to be able to maybe tweak a few different parts and really make a big difference based off of that. So I don't know which boat you end up kind of falling in, or where you could end up improving, but I can tell you this: if you could write it out really well, it will make a big difference in your top speed. So I highly encourage you doing that. As always, thanks for watching. Click that thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.